Tonight, the Prime Minister testifies under oath about foreign meddling in Canadian elections.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Justin Trudeau questioned about what he knew and when, what we learned, and why it matters. Is Canada in for another explosive wildfire season?
This is really an all-hands-on-deck moment.
A new warning about the rising risk across the country. And will that deadly attack on aid workers in Gaza change the war and the flow of food on the ground? Our correspondents are standing by.
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Thanks for joining us. Under oath and under scrutiny, the Prime Minister is revealing some of what he knew and when about attempts by foreign actors to interfere in Canadian elections. It's a topic usually shrouded in secrecy, now the subject of a very public inquiry, and it's shedding new light on how intelligence is shared and where gaps may exist. Ashley Burke starts us off tonight and takes us through Trudeau's testimony.
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Sworn in and ready to tell his side of the story.
There are real concerns and feelings involved.
The Prime Minister's testimony, a defense of himself, his officials, and how intelligence agencies handled foreign meddling in the past two elections.
Every briefing I've ever got from all my intelligence and security experts is that those elections were indeed free and fair.
Justin Trudeau laid out the measures he says his government put in place to protect Canadian elections from foreign actors.
We started from a standing start. We created the National Security Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians. We created NSIRA. We moved forward with the rapid response mechanism, and we've continued to do more.
But the inquiry also heard about gaps in what intelligence was and wasn't shared with him.
These are briefing notes that I never saw.
The government declassified secret documents for the public to see for the first time. But Trudeau said some of that intelligence didn't match what he was told during briefings.
So this reporting of an expressed preference by certain PRSE officials for a Liberal minority, was that something of which you were aware at the time?
No.
The commissioner also heard there were gaps in what Trudeau could do. In one case, CSIS warned his party of irregularities in the nomination of Han Dong as a Liberal candidate in 2019.
I asked the extent to which they were certain that it happened, the extent to which they were certain that China was indeed behind the mobilizing of the bus or buses. And I also asked whether or not CSIS had information that Han Dong knew about this. And the answers were not clear from CSIS at that point.
He said CSIS also warned the information must remain a secret.
This was secret information that we could not share.
Trudeau's high-profile testimony was supposed to be the last at this stage of the inquiry, but in a rare move, the commissioner agreed to call back the head of Canada's spy agency to clear up some contradictions that the intelligence agency said in a key document and what the Prime Minister says he was told. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Let's bring in Chief Political Correspondent Rosemary Barton. So, Rosie, the opposition pushed for this inquiry, but Justin Trudeau had his own political points clearly to make.
Yeah. For sure, Adrian. He was really trying to reclaim the narrative about this issue of foreign interference after, remember, the government was pummeled on this for like half of last year and really damaged by the idea that it was not taking any action to prevent it. This was not a combative prime minister, but one who was trying to explain what his government had done to prevent it, how he takes in intelligence, what he does with it. And certainly all of that came across, but it also exposed the weaknesses of the system. And if the government is getting briefed on intelligence that is unreliable in nature, how do we know that enough is being done to protect democracy? At one point, Justin Trudeau was also asked to talk about the concerns Canadians have about that. And he really tried to position himself as the person best set to defend it. And that was a very political statement, because that is an area where the Liberals believe they may have some ground to gain over the Conservatives.
So there have been days and days of testimony now by various officials and politicians. It can get confusing. Where does all of this leave us?
Yeah, it unfortunately leaves us, I think, with a lot more questions about how information is shared and how best to protect the people who are vulnerable to this interference. Diaspora communities, candidates, are those communities getting enough information? Are intelligence agencies doing enough to share the information to further limit attempts? And I think the other question you could have at the end of today is, why didn't the government allow for a public inquiry to begin with? It could have saved itself a lot of political damage, and it could have saved Canadians a lot of worry about the integrity of the system.
All right, Rosie Barton in Ottawa, thank you.
Thanks, Adrian.
Now, Ottawa is warning of another potentially catastrophic wildfire season. Much of the country is expected to be very hot and very dry. Lindsay Duncombe now on the fire forecast and what's already being done to fight back.
When fire destroyed homes and upended lives in West Kelowna last summer, the fire chief hoped he was dealing with a once-in-a-lifetime crisis. But now he's worried it could happen again, and soon.
It hasn't been normal weather. What we saw with the fire was not normal, but it needs to be now for us. But what we've seen over the winter and into this spring is also not normal, so we are concerned.
Fear shared across Canada. Here's why. Much of the country is tinder dry, with extreme drought in parts of Alberta, the Northwest Territories, and British Columbia. What does that look like? Check out this riverbed in Prince George, BC. No water at all. And this new government forecast calls for warm, dry weather into the spring.
With the heat and dryness across the country, we can expect that the wildfire season will start sooner and end later, and potentially be more explosive.
The federal government detailed plans to get cash to communities, train firefighters, and work with provinces and First Nations.
This is really an all-hands-on-deck moment. This is not something that any level of government can address on its own.
We are gearing up earlier this year than last year.
Already in Alberta, new firefighters practice their attack. Early spring is most dangerous on the prairies before the trees green up.
If we have persistent dry weather and no precipitation, yeah, then I'll get nervous. And for me, the biggest thing is to have my crews ready to go.
And Lindsay, beyond those urgent warnings, there was also, it seems, some political messaging at play here.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that the political forecast is heating up, Adrian, along with the weather. The Liberals, the ministers, used this emergency preparedness announcement to criticize Conservatives on climate change. And the NDP took credit for pushing the Liberals to double a tax credit for volunteer firefighters. And some Conservative MPs we spoke to said the government needs to do more and do better.
All right, Lindsay Duncombe in Vancouver. There are signs that BC's drought could get even worse. A new bulletin says the province's average snowpack has fallen to its lowest level in more than 50 years. As of April the 1st, the snowpack measured just 63% of normal. Parts of the province have been experiencing near record low precipitation. Well, the Bank of Canada is holding its key interest rate steady for the 6th consecutive time. So that means it remains at 5%, where it's been since July. Inflation has been falling, but the bank says it wants to see sustained slowing. So Tiff Macklem was asked directly today, is a rate cut a possibility in June? Here's how he answered.
Yes, it's within the realm of possibilities. Look, I think we've been pretty clear. We are encouraged by what we've seen since January. If you look at our indicators, they're not all progressing at the same speed, but they've all been moving in the right direction.
Some big sighs there. This is a great moment to bring in senior business reporter Peter Armstrong. Peter, this feels like the closest Macklem's come to cutting rates, but in terms of the tone and the content of what he just said, what did you make?
Look, you can sense just how reluctant he was to get pinned down. He spent his whole statement trying to be as vague as he could about the specifics of the actual timeline. But Adrian, as he points out, that's getting harder and harder, right? The bank has been really clear about what they needed to see before they could even start talking about rate cuts on inflation, on GDP, on jobs numbers. And another quote that he had today was, "We are seeing what we needed to see. We need to see it for longer." And all he did here was open the door. This is no promise, but even that opening of the door is you could hear the heaving sigh of relief right across the country.
Totally. What is the calculation that he's making at this point? And what is the reluctance to cut rates?
The reluctance is that inflation could reaccelerate, like we're seeing it happen in this morning's numbers in the United States. The other big one here is the spring housing market that's already heating up. To cut rates into that would be like adding jet fuel to it. So there's a lot of monsters under the bed right now. He just wants to buy some time, lull them to sleep, and hopefully get to cutting this summer.
All right, Peter Armstrong, thank you. You bet. Hundreds of farmers in Quebec say they cannot wait and see when it comes to their soaring costs. They say they can't make a living and are demanding the province steps in to help. Sarah Levitt spoke with farmers worried about going under.
As tractors rolled into town, they joined a crowd of fellow farmers already there to say enough is enough. Rising costs and falling profits are pushing them to the brink.
It's like we've had a triple punch over the last couple of years, so huge rise in inflation and the interest rates, and also a drop in the revenues.
They blame a number of factors, including Quebec's environmental regulations, which they call too costly and complicated, and foreign competition. They say other countries export their products into Quebec too easily. This is the second protest so far, with farmers demanding more financial aid from the government. According to the union representing farmers, 1 in 10 farms are struggling with equipment payments and other debts. Among them, Nicolas Godet. He and his partner say pig farming has only gotten tougher since they started 12 years ago.
We're investing $8 before we see $1 revenue, and it's staggering.
Godet is one example of the 44% of young farmers the union says need to take on another job to make ends meet.
I have 2 extra jobs, little contractual jobs, and my wife or spouse, Laurence, also has 2 jobs.
So how many hours do you think you work a week?
Probably on 7 days, probably about 80 to 90 hours usually, yeah.
And that's not enough still?
Well, we're not putting money away. We're just paying afloat.
They have reason to be worried.
The agriculture minister sympathizes but says financial supports are in place and they're working to help those struggling the most.
What I tell them is that we're listening.
But this expert calls those measures a stopgap fix that isn't working.
There's a need to actually start rethinking programs to be able to better accommodate for the future over the long run.
With 2 young daughters, Nicolas Odette hoped they'd one day take over the farm. Now, though, he isn't so sure. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Dunham, Quebec.
Overseas, an Israeli drone strike in Gaza has killed 3 sons of a top Hamas leader who's living in exile in Qatar. The drone hit a car they were traveling in a Gaza City refugee camp. Israel says the 3 were Hamas operatives. Hamas says it was a revenge strike and claims 4 of Ismail Haniyeh's grandchildren were also killed. The U.S. president is urging Hamas to accept the latest proposed ceasefire deal and says he's also sending a blunt message to Israel's prime minister.
The fact of the matter is that Bibi and I had a long discussion. He agreed to do several things that related to, number 1, getting more aid, both food and medicine, into Gaza.
In an interview that aired earlier this week, Biden went as far as to call Netanyahu's handling of the war a mistake. It was recorded just after Israel killed 7 aid workers in Gaza. That attack renewed focus on the dire aid situation there, which we will delve into in detail a little later. Margaret Evans and Paul Hunter will lay out where things stand right now and the pressure on Israel to get more aid in. There's a new twist in the tensions between Alberta and the federal government. The province tabled new legislation that will block municipalities from signing funding deals with Ottawa unless the Alberta government approves it first. Brian Labby now with the legislation and the legal questions it raises.
Today, we are taking back more of our jurisdictional control.
Alberta's premier says the aim of the new act is to make sure federal funding is in line with provincial priorities.
We won't put up with any further manipulation or political interference from Ottawa.
Most provincial departments and agencies, cities and towns, school boards, post-secondary schools and health authorities will be prohibited from negotiating, signing, extending or renewing federal funding agreements without a sign-off from Alberta's Conservative government first.
Albertans are uninterested in the virtue signaling from Ottawa and the related strings that come with this.
We need to build at scale faster.
Recent housing announcements, the Premier says, come with too many ideological strings attached. For example, she says requirements to increase density or ban natural gas connections in residential areas.
If that becomes the kind of ideological tag that the federal government is putting onto the kind of funding that they want to deliver, we're just not going to let it happen.
But the federal government calls Alberta's move a distraction that will only delay funding.
Roadblocks and obstacles in that way, getting in the way of that funding is only going to hurt Albertans.
A constitutional law expert says the provinces have jurisdiction over cities and towns, but Ottawa also has legal authority to spend as it chooses.
The interesting legal question that this will raise is, can a province step in the way of the federal government spending its money as it wishes that it could?
Even though the bill has been introduced, the province says it will now consult with cities, towns, school boards, and other agencies before it finalizes the legislation, which it expects to pass into law early next year. Brian Labby, CBC News, Calgary.
A popular American TikTok star is bringing his influence north.
Toronto, Canada. Here we come.
The food reviews bringing long lines to small businesses.
This is gonna be crazy.
Another investigation after another whistleblower calls out Boeing.
He was threatened with physical violence.
And the flapping reunion of two lovebirds.
It would be something like, where have you been for the last few days?
We're back in 2. Those are flood sirens blaring in Russia near the Kazakhstan border. There's severe flooding in both countries after melting snow and ice caused several rivers to burst their banks. More than 100,000 people have been forced to evacuate, and the water is still rising. And we're getting a new glimpse of the wreckage under the water in Baltimore after that bridge collapse. The U.S. Navy released these sonar images that show a mangled mess at the bottom of the channel. They were taken to help with the salvage and recovery operation. The bodies of 3 of the 6 construction workers who died in the collapse have yet to be found. And Boeing is facing a new investigation in the U.S. now that another whistleblower has come forward with safety concerns. Cam McIntosh takes us through the new allegation in what's already been a turbulent year for the aviation giant.
They're Boeing's top-selling wide-body jets, the 777 and 787 Dreamliner. Manufacturing processes now subject to a new investigation by the Federal Aviation Administration.
I am hopeful that the FAA will not allow this to go unanswered.
Over allegations from engineer Sam Salapur, who says he saw 777s with defects, and that changes in manufacturing of 787s could leave fuselages with improperly closed gaps.
I literally saw people jumping on the pieces of the airplane to get them to align.
You don't see that in Boeing's corporate videos. Boeing denies Salapur's claims, along with these allegations from his lawyer.
He was threatened with physical violence. He was threatened with termination.
Salapur worked in the same South Carolina plant as another whistleblower, John Barnett, who also raised concerns about the 787. He was found dead in his truck in March, an apparent suicide. Boeing, meanwhile, is reeling publicly from recent mid-flight scares, including a cowling falling off an engine earlier this week, and that 737 MAX 9 losing a door plug in January. Investigations have slowed production as Boeing pledges change. Its CEO is leaving.
It's probably going to take a long time for them to get out of this.
This aviation analyst says Boeing, the world's biggest plane maker, is under great pressure.
The focus back onto quality is going to be something that's drummed into them by their shareholders, if nobody else.
Air Canada flies the 787 and 777, WestJet the 787. Both say they've had no serious issues. Salapur, meanwhile, will testify in Washington next week.
I'm doing this not because I want Boeing to fail, but because I want it to succeed and prevent crashes from happening.
Although there is an investigation, neither of the planes have been grounded. Boeing insisting it always works with regulators. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The number of people in Gaza facing famine is growing. And Israel is under pressure to get more aid into the war zone. So what happens next? Our foreign correspondents are here.
It's one thing to get food on trucks crossing into Gaza, but how do you get enough of it into the mouths of 2 million Palestinians who are starving?
And families struggling to buy a home in this country are finding new options.
Multi-generational households are really a way of living in the city.
The National breaks down the story shaping our world. Next.
DeGrasse at the line. He's got the gold medal.
That, of course, is Andre DeGrasse winning gold at the Olympics in Tokyo. And if he's able to do it again in Paris this summer, he'll get $50,000 US. That's because World Athletics, the organization governing track and field events, is the first to introduce prize money at the Olympics for gold medalists. And starting at the 2028 Olympic Games, silver and bronze medalists will also be paid. A handful of restaurants in Toronto are celebrating a big boost this week after an unexpected visit from American TikTok food critic Keith Lee. And as Katie Nicholson shows us, with 16 million followers, his reviews can have a big impact.
This is gonna be crazy.
Minutes from opening for lunch and the online orders are already pouring in.
Hey guys, let's do a little quick prayer. Dear God, we just want to thank you for this day, that the influx would not make us frustrated.
Kilandra Edgecombe asking for help from the heavens after appealing to someone else on TikTok.
Kenzie, tell him your mommy makes the best food.
My mom makes the best food.
That video posted Saturday directed at Keith Lee, an American MMA fighter.
These look amazing. Boy.
And one of TikTok's most influential food critics.
That's good service.
His reviews rack up millions of hits and drive hundreds to the small independent restaurants he visits.
This is a 9.8 out of 10.
And he's just eaten his way through Toronto.
For sure, you right on. God damn.
Dropping review.
That waffle is soft and buttery.
After review.
That's unique. Yeah, that's good. That's real good.
After review.
Yeah, it tastes like a banana loaf.
After review.
With the cheese sauce. It's like an 8.5 out of 10.
He posts.
It's very tender. 8.4 out of 10.
His followers flock.
Ever since he came by, the wait time is double. If not an hour and a half, then 2 hours.
We've been officially Keith Lee. They're ordering everything Keith Lee ordered. Are they really? Yeah, yes. Everything.
Lee saw Edgecombe's video and dropped by the same day.
I was at the cashier and I looked and I saw Keith Lee and I started freaking out. I was like, no way, that's not Keith Lee. And he came to the cashier and he was like, the food was amazing.
Have you been here before?
No, never.
No, so you came just because of Keith Lee?
Just because of Keith Lee.
Daniel Abraham loves what Lee has done for his city.
With inflation, with how hard it is to keep a business, and after COVID, what happened, it's important for us to support these businesses.
For Edgecombe, it's an answer to her prayers.
But I've just been praying and asking God, please just do something for me that I could stay open, because it's been hard, right? And I feel like a push like this is gonna help us to stay open for a long time.
And possibly, maybe even expand her restaurant. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Toronto.
Oh, that's great. The man known as the Dean of Canadian Jazz, Phil Nimmons, is being remembered tonight after news of his death.
If it's performed well and it is good music, it communicates.
That was Phil Nimmons on CBC back in 1969, a prolific composer and arranger with more than 400 songs to his credit. Nimmons played with some of the biggest names in jazz over his decades-long career. Born in Kamloops and raised in Vancouver, he roamed from New York to Toronto, admitting to some wild times along the way.
I did like everybody. I really drank my butt off for a while and smoked and everything, and stayed up nights after nights writing dramatic music.
He was an officer of the Order of Canada and received the Governor-General's Performing Arts Award for Lifetime Artistic Achievement. Phil Nimmons died at home last week in Toronto, 10 months after his 100th birthday. His musical legacy lives on through the Nimmons Tribute Band led by his grandson, Sean. And now it is time to dig deeper into the stories shaping our world. Extended families share homes to make them more affordable.
This is the trend. This is how people are going to live in the future.
But first, as hunger in Gaza reaches new and alarming dimensions, the recent airstrike on an aid convoy could mark a turning point. Our senior correspondents break down the brutal reality on the ground and key diplomatic developments. Does it all point to a shift in the course of the war? What you're looking at is the wreckage of the World Central Kitchen convoy that was carrying 7 aid workers when it was hit by Israeli Defense Force missiles in Gaza last week. Well, rage flew. Israel called it a mistake, investigated, some senior leaders have been suspended, and a number of aid agencies, including World Central Kitchen, stopped providing aid in Gaza. Boats with food turned back, but Gazans still need to eat every day. So how will they do that? What does that attack change? It's a pretty good question for Margaret Evans, our senior international correspondent in London. So, Margaret, you and I were based in the Middle East for a time together. We've been in and out of Gaza a lot. Can we talk for a moment about hunger? Because I know you've covered it all over the world, but it's been different from this, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Adrian, back in 2004, Darfur, South Sudan, sort of around 2017, most recently Somalia. But in all of those instances, the buildup to the sense of crisis has been over a much longer period of time than what we're actually seeing or have seen in Gaza.
So it's interesting when we talk about food and famine and hunger, because sometimes people use hunger and starvation as terms interchangeably, but there is something called this International Food Security Phase classification. I mean, as horrible as it sounds, it seems to rank hunger needs on this multi-point scale from minimal to famine. So bear with me here, because I want to show you a map of how they divided Gaza in terms of famine. So if we have a look over here, this is the north, where famine is projected to be imminent, with cases of malnutrition at really high levels, especially in young children. The southern regions over here are in what's called an emergency phase. So that means there's high levels of food insecurity, and a few key spots where the red X is there is where there is a risk of famine. So, Margaret, Israel has said that, hundreds of trucks are being allowed into Gaza carrying aid, but we know that the needs, as you've just seen, are different across the strip. So how much of a difference will those trucks make?
Of course, you have to remember, as you were pointing out, the difference between the north and the south of Gaza. In the north, you have had Palestinians cut off for most of the war from the rest of the strip. And if you look at the way that the aid is entering by land, in any case, all of it's coming from southern Gaza. So getting those convoys up to the north has been really, really difficult. Israel has also banned the main UN organization that delivers food to Gaza from delivering or taking trucks to the north. It accuses the organization, which is called UNRWA, of actually sympathizing with Hamas. So the situation is much more dire for people up in the north, and that's why the famine kind of warnings are taking place up there. In terms of the numbers of trucks getting in, on Sunday we heard that about 320 trucks got in. That is definitely an increase, but it's certainly nowhere near the 500 trucks that need to get in every day, according to aid agencies, to sort of reverse this sort of pending famine, they say. They also say that the key to doing that is sustainability.
So while we're talking about this critical geography, I want to bring up another map here. So let's scroll forward a little bit. Let's look at this right here. So after the airstrikes last week on World Central Kitchen, Israel promised to open up more aid corridors. Got the Erez crossing, this is in the north, Keren Shalom in the south, and then there's the Rafah crossing with Egypt. Margaret, when you look at these corridors, when you look at these crossings, what story did they tell you?
Well, the Erez crossing, I think, Adrian, is the one that's most important. You know it well. Before the war, it was the main entry point from Israel into northern Gaza. It's where journalists would cross. It would be where Palestinians, if they had permission to leave for medical aid or for a job, would go into Israel. very important because it's, of course, in the north, and it's only about 40 kilometers from the port of Ashdod. So potentially a lot of aid could come in that way. Israel has said it has been inoperable up to this point because it came under attack by Hamas militants on October 7th, but it says now it's going to reopen it. And it does have the potential to be a game changer in the north. But, you know, even if Israel does go ahead with these new corridors that it's talking about, you have to remember that it doesn't address the security issues that aid agencies have raised with Israel in the wake of the World Central Kitchen deaths. They say what they need is better coordination and guarantees from Israel in terms of protecting aid workers on the ground. There have been about 200 Palestinian aid workers killed since the start of the war, and some of those aid organizations on the ground actually believe that they're being targeted. So, you know, that's one of the main issues they say that they have to address on a systemic level.
So we know that a lot of the pressure to allow for more aid into Gaza has been coming from the United States, which makes this a pretty good moment to bring in CBC correspondent Paul Hunter in Washington. Paul, thanks for being with us. We can imagine the trucks we've seen heading into Gaza are part of the answer to that pressure from President Joe Biden. The U.S. wants more right now, is that right?
100%, Adrian. The U.S. very much wants tactile, real-world, measurable steps taken by Israel to end the suffering in Gaza, and it wants them quickly. Think back to that phone call last week between Joe Biden and Benjamin Netanyahu. You may recall, Adrian, that was a late night for you and me here in the National because there were developments from Israel throughout the evening. Amazing when you think about it, how quickly after that 30-minute phone call that Israel announced that it would indeed be allowing aid in through Erez and beyond. But that's because in that phone call, Biden is said to have demanded speed, demanded that Israel announce those steps that night, and it did. The aid is desperately needed in Gaza, but this issue is massively important for the political future of Joe Biden. Yes, he's had a long history of engagement with the situation in the Middle East, long relationship with Netanyahu going back decades. His support for Israel is solid. But this is an election year in the U.S., and Biden has taken a ton of heat for not pushing back hard enough against Israel. It's interesting, over the course of time, we've been reporting on this story. You know, early days it was, X number of Palestinians dead, then 5,000, 10, 12, 18,000, 25, now 33,000, right? Then all of a sudden, 7 aid workers get killed, and Biden makes that phone call. In Canada, we talk about Jacob Flickinger as the Canadian killed, but of course he was a dual citizen. And here, the headline is an American killed, not lost on Joe Biden. On top of that, the significance of the pressure from Arab and Muslim Americans on Biden can't be overstated. Bottom line, Biden wants Israel to take those steps and to do so quickly because Palestinians in Gaza desperately need them, but as well to show Americans he's doing something on it and he's taking this on in a way that actually makes a difference.
Right, and bottom line for Gazans is they need to eat tonight, right? So even if Israel were to open up those aid corridors we just talked about, including in the north, who polices those convoys, who distributes that aid?
Yeah, and Margaret was getting at this in a way. Look, it's not really clear is the answer, at least not in any meaningful way, and that's another major problem. It's one thing to get food on trucks crossing into Gaza, but how do you get enough of it into the mouths of 2 million Palestinians who are starving? Desperation in Gaza is fierce. Remember that drone video of the aid drop onto the beach a few weeks ago and Palestinians kind of screaming out in all directions trying to get at it? Well, it's because they're all starving and they'll do whatever it takes to get food. There are myriad stories of aid trucks, once they get in, being looted. For example, sometimes strictly by people desperate for anything, other times by those who steal it and put it on the black market. Keep in mind, there's no real police force in Gaza right now. Itself is a victim of 6 months of bombardment. So the place is effectively lawless. Hamas, of course, has overarching control. It has made clear any Palestinians seen to be helping Israel get aid in will be considered to be collaborators. And into all of that, again, comes the attack on that food aid convoy with the underlying message, as Margaret was noting, that even if you get past the looting, even if you can deal with the lawlessness, no one is safe anywhere, hence aid organizations contemplating next steps.
Yeah, and desperate times call for desperate measures. You talked about that food aid drop. When we saw it happening from Jordan, not only did parachutes not open, even though they were trying to drop in a grid pattern, who knows where some of the aid dropped. Margaret, you and I have been talking about some of it has gone way off course.
That's right. I think one of the things that looking at this conflict, which is strange, if you look at it, I'm thinking of being in South Sudan on the ground with people waiting for the airdrop, the vast territory, the coordination that was taking place with the people on the ground, a huge X marking where the drop was going to take place. Also in other areas or places where famine or hunger has been on the approach, you see people moving vast distances to escape war or drought. And of course, in this instance, you have this small sliver of land, Gaza, about an hour's drive away from Tel Aviv, where people are, eating dinner, and it's all, on people's television screens, and still people are starving, and nobody seems able to break through it, and it, to me, it reminds me that this is a problem that is not actually going to resolve itself unless you return to diplomacy, and it has to be much stronger diplomacy than we've seen up to this point.
All right, Paul Hunter, Margaret Evans, thank you so much for being with us. Next, extended families are coming together to try to afford a home.
It's a dream to own a home in BC.
The growing trend towards multi-generational living. Next. The growing trend to cut housing costs. Multi-generational families are sharing homes. How they make it work.
We want to stay out of their lives when that makes sense. Living together, you can share everything.
And what the government does to make it easier. Whitney Braich is here to break down the various ways that extended families are embracing this solution.
Beautiful BC, where homes can easily cost over $1 million, even $2 million, and rent is typically the highest in Canada.
But here's one way some people are making housing more affordable.
Multi-generational homes. It's basically where grandparents, adult children, and grandkids live together. They might split mortgages, even groceries, and generally help each other out. So how does this help different families? And what can it look like?
When we talk about multi-generational households, it really isn't a failure to launch. It can and is a foundation to succeed for many.
For one family in Vancouver, it's meant building a second home in their Kitsilano backyard.
We're able to move into having a mortgage and be owners and not have to do rent anymore.
Mary Hine and her husband moved in 2 years ago and since had a daughter. Their mortgage is slightly higher than what they paid to rent a one-bedroom apartment in 2020, and they get almost twice the space.
We're adding a tremendous amount of value back into our own land, being able to stay in our neighborhood, being able to stay relatively close to our work. This just seemed like a great option in terms of affordability.
So how did this happen? Well, Mary's parents live in a historic character home that they bought 25 years ago. And if homeowners in Vancouver retain these unique homes, the city has an incentive that allows them to add a smaller home known as an infill on the same property. So Mary and her husband got a loan to build their own 1,400 square foot home in her parents' backyard.
It was well worth the effort. We're here to support, but we want to stay out of their lives when that makes sense. So.
Now, across Canada, homes shared by multiple generations, 2 or more families, or one family living with unrelated people grew by 45% in the last 20 years. That's about 1 million homes in 2021, when the most recent data is available. And there could be many reasons why.
Housing unaffordability, I think that an aging society comes into play. Immigrant culture, that we are a nation of immigrants, and as part of being that nation of immigrants, multi-generational households are really a way of living in the city.
Hi. Welcome in. Let's go.
The Singhs immigrated from Italy to Abbotsford in 2018. Now they own a home, enjoyed by 10 family members, and this is Cookie.
We are lucky we are living together, and it's our culture also. Living together, you can share everything.
And that includes the adults splitting a hefty mortgage, bills and groceries, while Grandma helps care for the kids.
She's another mother for us, and she helped us when our mom was doing work.
Singh says his brother and uncle helped buy the home in 2021. Without family, owning a home in today's market as new immigrants would have felt
impossible, I think. It's a dream to own a home in BC.
And for others, multi-gen living has meant tearing down one home and building 2 units or more on the same lot.
Okay, bud, we're going inside. This is going to be your home one day. It's hard in the city to, for a single family to, to have a single detached home. It really is. So the pool of resources it made this achievable.
Chris's family built a duplex. He will live on one side, his wife's mother and brother in the other.
That's about getting everyone close together and having some square footage to raise this little guy.
He says he's looking forward to moving his family out of their one-bedroom apartment.
Now, multi-generational living isn't a new concept, but experts say current government initiatives mean we could see more of it.
For example, there's a federal tax credit. It provides a one-time 15% tax refund for renovation costs up to $50,000 for a secondary unit for a senior or someone living with a disability.
So yes, there's lots of ways to live together and still have personal space, but multi-generational living may not be for everyone.
It can still be hard to find the right space or enough space that's affordable. There can be questions around privacy and how to share parking. But beyond the challenges, these families say it's one way to cut costs and build a foundation together.
And Benit tells us that a new BC law allows secondary suites to be built in larger homes with a separate kitchen and living space, and detached units can be built on single-family lots. Municipalities will have until June 30th to incorporate those changes in their bylaws. Next, a pretty dramatic reunion for a couple of lovebirds.
The two saw each other from a distance and then immediately started coming towards each other, which is very, very touching.
Their happy dance in our moment. Those are swan mates, Mango and Charlotte, reuniting for the first time in days, and boy, does it feel sweet. So here's the thing. Mango was off receiving treatment at the Toronto Wildlife Centre, leaving Charlotte all alone. When he did come back, they had quite the reaction, and the reunion is our moment.
The two saw each other from a distance and recognized each other's swan voices, and then immediately started coming towards each other, which is very, very touching. The male swan is named Mango, and his mate is Charlotte. Only the swans really know what they were saying to each other, of course, but we would imagine, it would be something like, "Hey, you're back. Where have you been for the last few days?" So the male swan in this video, we've had him in twice for medical treatment. He actually had fishing line tightly wrapped around his bill and his tongue. And then recently he was noticed in the area with blood on his feathers, and he was brought in for treatment at that time. And then we took him back to his area to be released.
There's Y37 coming out.
I've actually been told that since he was released, they have been seen mating. And they're getting ready to lay their eggs for the year and raise their babies.
Okay, the music just sort of brings it home. Trumpeter swans do mate for life. It is mating season. They knew they had to hurry to get them back together. And swans don't take kindly to strangers in their midst. So it's pretty clear those two had some history. From all of us at The National, thank you for being with us. You can watch anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to The National's YouTube channel. I'm Adrienne Arsenault.